Hello students, welcome back to your science class. So students, in the previous class, in this chapter, that is metals and non-metals, we were talking about the properties of the metals. Although we have to study both, that is properties, physical property of the metal as well as the chemical properties of the metal, including that of the non-metal also, physical and the chemical properties. So we already had completed with the physical properties of the metal. Let us see what are the different physical properties of the non-metal, and then we will also compare both of them, that how the physical property of the metal differ from that of the non-metal. So physical properties of non-metals. The first physical property is the physical state. So, in case of a metal student, we have seen that normally metals, they exist in the solid state. Okay, so most of them, they are in the solid state. Exception is there, that is mercury. Mercury at room temperature, it exists in a liquid state. What about in case of a non-metal? In case of a non-metal, it can exist in all the three forms. It means, although most of the non-metals are what? They are generally in the gaseous form, they exist in gas at room temperature, but there are some of them which exist in solid, while one bromine is what? It exists in a liquid. So on the basis of that, we can say that non-metals, they can exist in solid, liquid as well as gases. Can exist in solid, liquid and gases. Example, if we talk about the solid student, so phosphorus, sulfur, these are what? These exist in the iodine, it exists in the solid state. Liquid, bromine. Bromine, actually bromine water. You have heard about bromine water. We use, whenever we do the experiment, we use the bromine water. So bromine exists in a liquid state. That's why it is called as a bromine water. While the gaseous students, so there are a lot of non-metals are there which exist in gas, like that of oxygen, then nitrogen, helium, fluorine, chlorine, etc. So lot of different non-metals are there which exist in the gaseous state, as well as some of them are there which can exist in a liquid or solid state. So this is what, this is the physical state. Second property is the luster. So, as we have seen in case of the metal, metals, they are having shiny surface, and it is because of that they are used for making jewelries. Okay, if you look at gold or that of the silver, even copper also, iron also, these are what, these all are having the shiny surface. But when we look at the surface of the non-metals, they are generally non-lustrous, they are not having the shiny appearance, but their surface is what? These are dull. So, do not have lustrous appearance. Okay, these are dull. Next one is malleability. Metals are what? These metals are generally malleable. We have already studied about the malleability. Malleability is the property in which by beating it with a hard object, we can convert it, we can draw the thin sheets. and that is malleability. So metals are generally malleable. We know aluminium foil, tin sheets, iron sheets, so how, or silver foil. So how it is made up of? It is because of its property that is these are malleable. While in case of a non-metals they are generally non-malleable. So if suppose you have taken sulfur or phosphorus and when you hit it with hammer, it will broken down into pieces instead of into a sheet. Okay, so this property is what? That is the non-malleability. So we can say that non-metals are non-malleable. It means these can be broken into pieces, and this property in which it will be broken down, or it will be when we hit it with a hard object, when it get broken into the pieces, that we call as brittle. So instead of showing the malleability, they show the brittleness. So these are brittle. Then next property is ductility. Non-metals, they are non-ductile. Ductility, it means what, student? This is a property by which we can convert it into thin wires, or we can draw thin wires through the substance, that is the ductility. And we know that like copper wire is there, aluminium wire is there, silver wire is there, gold wire is there. So how it is made up of? It is because of this property that it can be drawn into wires, and this property is basically shown by the metals, but non-metals, they are non-ductile. So non-metals are non-ductile. Then the hardness. Next property is the hardness. Non-metals, they are not hard, but they are soft. As you can see here, as they can be broken down into pieces if we hit it with a hard object or with a hammer, it means the bonding between them, they are not, the bonding between the elements, it's not a metallic bonding, it's not a strong bonding, and due to which it is what? It is not a hard, but it is a soft one. So they are generally, these are generally soft. And you can understand this. See, mostly non-metals are what? They exist in the gaseous form. So you can understand by this, when we were talking about the solid, liquid or a gas, we know that why a solid exists in the solid state, because of the intermolecular force of attraction between them is really very strong. While in case of a liquid, it is little bit less as compared to solid, and in case of a gaseous, it is what? It is the least one. So if most of the non-metals exist in the solid state, it means the intermolecular force of attraction between them will be very weak. And if the intermolecular force of attraction between them is weak, they are generally soft. Here, an exception is also there, student, that is carbon. Carbon, that is diamond. So diamond is what? It is a allotrope of a carbon. It's a form of a carbon. It's a substance which consisting of a carbon content in it, but its structure is different from the other carbon compounds. So diamond is what, student? It is supposed to be the hardest substance till known. So even though it is a non-metal, but an exception is there, the diamond is the hardest one. Question arises, why is this so? Why diamond is considered to be the hardest even though it belongs to the carbon? That is a non-metal. It is because of the structure of the diamond. Actually, in case of a diamond, it is having a 3D structure where all the valence electron present in the carbon, they have bonded with the other valence electron of the carbon. So all of them are what? There is no intercellular spaces between them. They are properly fixed with each other. That's why the structure is what? It is rigid, and they are what? They are hard. Okay, so diamond is considered to be the hardest substance because of its structure. Next one is the melting point and boiling point. melting point and boiling point. So in case of a metals, we have seen since the bonding between the different metal, there is a metallic bonding between them. So we have to apply more amount of energy, more amount of a heat to it in order to break the bond between them. Ultimately, the melting point or the boiling point. What is a melting point? In which the solid get melted, it starts the point, the temperature at which the solid starts melting. What does that mean? Conversion of the solid to that of the liquid. So you can convert it only when the force of attraction between the particles, it is what? It is less. And if in case of our metals, the force of attraction is really very high, so we have to supply more amount of a heat to it in order to break the bonding between that of the particles, the bonding between the particles. Okay, so melting point is high. Similarly, in case of the boiling point also. So because of a strong metallic bonding between them, the melting and the boiling point is quite high in case of a metal. While in case of a non-metals, we have seen that they are generally soft. It means the intermolecular force of attraction in case of a non-metal is what? That is less. So we have to supply less amount of a heat in order to break the bonding between them. Ultimately, the melting and the boiling point will be less. So non-metals generally have low melting point and boiling point. Low melting and boiling point. Next is thermal conductivity. Metals are what? They are a good conductor, but non-metals, they are generally a bad conductor of heat. Here we are talking about the thermal conductivity. Thermal means heat. So they are the poor conductor, they are the bad conductor of heat. It is because there is no such free electrons are present in it, due to which it do not allow the heat to pass through it. So they are supposed to be the bad conductor of heat. So non-availability of free electrons made it a poor conductor of heat. Poor conductor of heat. Then electrical conductivity. Non-metals, they are what? They are also a poor conductor of electricity. Metals, they were a very good conductor, that's why they are used for making the electric wire. While in case of a non-metal, they are a poor conductor of electric current. Okay, so they are a bad conductor of electricity. Although again there is an exception, and that is again another form of a carbon, which is graphite. Graphite is what? You have heard about the carbon rods. When we do the process of electrolysis, the electrode that we use is one of the two of them is what? It is a carbon rod also. So that carbon rod is what? It is made up of a graphite. Graphite, they are a good conductor of electricity, although it is what? It is a non-metal. So non-metals are poor conductor of electricity, or they are the generally bad conductor of electricity. Why graphite is a good conductor, student, or even though it is a non-metal but they do not show the poor conductivity? The reason is the same, its structure. As we have seen in case of the hardness, the 3D model, the 3-dimension structure of the diamond make it the hardest substance. Here, because of the structure only, one of the electron, every time what happened, the graphite is what? Graphite is, it is it is attached or it is bonded with the other carbon in such a way that it will going to form the two layer of the carbon. One of the free electron is always left behind, and due to the number of the free electron left behind in the formation of the graphite, it will there is a more availability of the free electron, and you know that when free electron is there, the electron starts moving, and ultimately that will that will form the electric current. So graphite are what? They are a good conductor. It is because of the availability of a free electrons in it. Okay. Next is the sonority. Sonority. So what is sonority? When we hit an object with a harsh substance, it will start producing sound. So all the metals, they are what? They are sonorous, and that's why they are used in making the musical instrument or an electric bulb, electric bell. Okay, so metals are generally sonorous, but non-metals, they are non-sonorous. They do not produce sound. They are non-sonorous. Strength. So we have just seen in case of the metals are having a large tensile strength. Meaning of the tensile strength is what, student? It means that it is having a capacity to hold a large weight, and because of this property they are used in making bridges, they are used for the construction purpose. But in case of a non-metals, they are what? They are not as strong as the metal. Again the reason is the same, that is the bonding between them. The metallic bonding gives the strength to it, but since there is no such metallic bonding is found in case of a non-metal, so they are having very less tensile strength, or they are soft. So they can be broken very easily. Low tensile strength. Next is the color. In case of a metal, we have seen that except that of a gold, which is yellow in color, bright yellow in color, or copper is there, which is reddish brown in color. All other metals are what? They are generally white or grey in color. But in case of a non-metal, except some of the non-metal like hydrogen and oxygen, they are what? They are colorless. They do not have a color. Rest of the non-metals, they are found in a variety of a color. Like if we talk about the sulfur, sulfur is what? It is found in yellow color. Then phosphorus is there. Phosphorus exists in white or red. Then graphite is there, which is black. So most of them they are having colors, or they exist in variety of color. So these are what, students? These are some of the physical properties of the non-metal, and we have understood that how these properties differ from the metals. Now let us go back to the metal again, and this time we will going to see the chemical properties of the metal. Chemical property, it means physical property was what? That is related to the appearance, that is related to the temperature. But when we talk about the chemical properties, it means what kind of a reaction it will show with the different chemicals. So starting with the first one, that is reaction with oxygen. Reaction with oxygen. So how do metals react with oxygen? Generally metals react with the oxygen to form the metal oxide, and these metal oxide are what? These are basic in nature. Many times this question is asked that how can you say or how can you prove that the metal are what they are? The metal oxide are what? They are basic in nature. So first of all, metals are what? They react with oxygen to form the metal oxide. And like we have also seen even in the previous class, like sodium, when it reacts with the oxygen, it will form sodium oxide, that is Na2O. Similarly, the other reactive metal like potassium is there, when it reacts with the oxygen, that it will form K2O, that is potassium oxide. Okay, and these two, they react vigorously with that of the oxygen because their chemical reactivity is really very high, and it is because of this reason the potassium and sodium is kept under the kerosene oil, because if it will be exposed to the atmosphere, it will get converted into sodium oxide. Now what happened afterward? This sodium oxide, how can we check that it is basic in nature or it is a basic oxide? So when we take this sodium oxide and make it to react with the water, then the hydroxide which is formed here, it will be NaOH, sodium hydroxide, and H2 will released. Metal hydroxide is formed here. This is an aqueous one. This is a liquid and this is solid. Okay, 2 NaOH. So when we take this sodium oxide and add water, few drops of water in it, then we will take a red litmus paper. Now dipping the red litmus paper in this hydroxide solution, it will get converted into blue, and which proves that this metal hydroxide is what it is basic. So ultimately how does it came? It came through the metal oxide. So the metal oxide is what it is, basic in nature, and how we came to know? With the help of the litmus test. Similarly, you can take an example of a magnesium oxide. You know that how magnesium oxide is formed. So magnesium, when react with the oxygen, when we burn a magnesium ribbon in a presence of the oxygen, when we burn it, what happens? It will burn with a dazzling white light, and the white ashes will be left behind, and this white ashes is what? That is of a magnesium oxide only. When we make this magnesium oxide to react with the water, then there is a formation of a magnesium hydroxide. Okay, magnesium hydroxide, and again when we will do the litmus test, we get that magnesium hydroxide wall, it will turns the blue litmus paper to, it will turn the red litmus paper to blue, which proves that it is what? It is basic in nature. So by this we came to conclusion that the oxide, first of all, the metals, they used to react with the oxygen on the basis of its chemical reactivity. The metals, those who are very reactive, they react vigorously with oxygen. The metals which are not reactive, so there is a need of a heat by burning, by increasing the temperature, we can make it to form its oxide. But ultimately formation of the oxide will occur when the reaction occur between that of oxygen and metal. Now this oxide, when we will dip it in the distilled water, when we add distilled water and check it with the litmus paper, we will find it is basic in nature. There are some oxide students which are amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric oxide means what? They used to show both of the properties, acidic as well as the basic. Like in case of aluminium oxide. So suppose aluminium oxide, you know that the aluminium metal react with the oxygen, then there is a formation of Al2O3, which is aluminium oxide. So when this aluminium oxide, it is dipped into the acid, that is HCl, then there is a formation of aluminium chloride, AlCl3 plus H2O will be left behind, the HCl. Okay. So it will be 6 HCl, 2 Al. Aluminium is balanced. Chlorine is also balanced. Hydrogen 6 here, and here it is 2. So 3 hydrogen, 3 into 6. Hydrogen is also balanced, and oxygen is balanced. So you can see here that when we make this aluminium oxide to react with the acid, then there is a formation of a salt and water. Okay, so it will react with the acid also to form the salt and water, as well as it act as an, so here it is acting as a basic oxide. How? Because it is reacting with the acid to form the salt, right? That's why here it is what? It is a basic oxide. And we know that neutralization reaction says that when the acid and the base they combine together, then there is a formation of a salt and water. Similarly, we can say that aluminum oxide also react with the base to form the salt and water. This we will going to understand tomorrow.